Hey everyone, this is Talal from mentoragile.com. And in today's video, I'm going to be refilming day 2 of my CSPO journey for the third time. Long story short, first time I recorded it on a different device, that device just suddenly stopped turning on. Second time I refilmed it on the device I'm currently filming on, and turns out the audio did not register. So I'm going to be recapping the second day, and I'm going to break this down into multiple different parts, about a minute and a half each. So that way it's more digestible and it can be used for my TikTok and my Instagram videos as well. And then I'll compile all these into a long form video that will be posted on my YouTube. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and basically segment this down by reviewing my notes and recalling the events that transpired on day 2. And regardless, I'm going to be having an ebook that will be published very, very soon. I'm just refining it and organizing it so that way it makes sense to a brand new reader. And that will also be published, and I'll also be filming an overall recap video as well. All right, stay tuned. Thank you. All right, so now we actually got into the class, and essentially we went over the role of Scrum Masters within the Scrum environment in the team. The Scrum Guide states that the Scrum Master technically does not have any deliverables. Their role is to serve as a servant of the team and to help facilitate the Agile Scrum process and coach the team in making sure that they're implementing the Agile framework, the Scrum framework, consistently and effectively, okay? And when it comes down to being a product owner, you wanna think in the sense that you are wearing multiple hats. One hat is going to be customer-centric, where you're dealing with the stakeholders and you're facing them and you're understanding what their needs are and you're understanding the priority of those needs. Then you want to be also team-facing and wear that hat as well and understand that your teams are human beings, not human doings. That's one thing the instructor was really big on emphasizing, that Agile Scrum is a social technology, and it's to help facilitate the process of having a team work as human beings and not human doings, and work on solving problems rather than building solutions. Okay? Then we updated our class burn down chart to see where we're at in terms of the hours and how many modules we have left, and we were pretty much good on track. And yeah, next we're gonna get into the Scrum events. All right, so we get into the Scrum events, and the first one that we covered was the daily Scrum, which is essentially a daily meeting that should happen every single day. Shouldn't take longer than 15 minutes or so. It's more so a meeting for the developers to see where they are in terms of the sprint goal, and how they are progressing. And the idea is to ensure that the team is in alignment with the sprint goal and the commitment that was made to produce the increment, right? So a good way that you can help encourage your team to minimize the pain of giving a status update is you want to make sure that their backlog items that they're working on are up to date on the Scrum board, and that their burn down chart is up to date as well. Because that's a source of truth that anybody can reference and understand where they are in terms of that current sprint. So again, it's made for the developers, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that you as a PO or a Scrum Master need to be the one that facilitates it. Anyone can technically do it, but it's something to help keep the team in check and make sure that they're in alignment with the sprint goal. All right. And all right, so then after we covered the daily Scrum, we didn't get into the rest of the Scrum events. I do recall us dissecting that more later. But according to my notes, the timeline that we followed was that we then broke down the Scrum team. The Scrum team is consisted of the product owner, the Scrum Master, and then the development team, and then also your testers, which is also part of that development team, essentially. Okay? And then when it comes down to a PO, a product owner, they are essentially the keeper of the vision, and they always clarify the product vision. They build out the product roadmap. They build milestones, which is essentially the backlog, right? And the backlog is used as a way to have visibility on what the product roadmap is, the vision, And it's a way to understand the priority of the requests that are coming through from the customer side, whether that's internal or external. That's very dependent on your organization and what type of work you're trying to do. But essentially, you want to manage the product backlog and you want to keep it prioritized. This is one responsibility that is to remain exclusive to the product owner. It is not to be delegated to anyone else. And it makes sense because you are owning the product backlog. Therefore, you should be the one that prioritizes it and maintain the priority and keep that up to date. Now, when it comes down to it, what the instructor shared with us as a product owner, you want to spend 30% of your time talking to stakeholders. You want to spend the next 30% talking to your Scrum team, and the remaining 40% you want to have available for you to think and to strategize and understand how to go about prioritizing the backlog and ensuring that all the requests that are coming in have been appropriately documented and prioritized. And that's how you can have a backlog that can be ready to be refined. And with a refined backlog, that is how you as a team can then develop the sprint backlog. All right? So without having a clear and concise, prioritized product backlog that is consistently refined, you're not going to be able to progress at the rate that you would like, and therefore you're not exhibiting the qualities of Scrum. So you want to make sure that you're prioritizing the backlog and keeping it refined as much as possible so that way you have the right information and the correct and complete information when it comes to dealing with your stakeholders and your Scrum team. Okay? When it comes to attributes of a good quality product owner, they are available to the team, they're knowledgeable, they have some type of authority, they're authorized, and the fourth quality and attribute is that they are passionate. You genuinely have to care about your team, the product, and the overall vision that you're trying to accomplish in order for you to really bring out the best qualities of you being a product owner. All right? All right, and then when it comes down to the developers, their main responsibility is to develop and deliver a high quality product, to make any adjustments or changes that need to be made to that product, and essentially be the driving force for the deliverables for the whole product, right? And the way that this gets broken down is that the development team is going to be responsible for developing an increment that gets committed to during the sprint planning. The sprint planning is what begins the sprint, and it's what determines the commitment that the development team is going to produce in terms of the increment, and the increment is the end result of what the sprint has produced. And it's a usable piece of the product that has functional value to it and business value to it, and it meets the definition of done. All right, and then when it comes to the Scrum Master, they support the team and they address any blockers or impediments. They help facilitate the process of Scrum, and their attributes are to teach, facilitate, mentor, coach. They're a servant leader, they're a change agent, and they optimize value they optimize the flow of value from end to end, and they work in partnership with the PO as a right-hand assistant in ensuring that the product vision is moving towards the direction that it needs to. All right, now when it comes to stakeholders, right, they're not part of your Scrum team. They are your stakeholders, and that is your source of where you get your information from when it comes to the product vision and goal, okay? So your requests and your requirements are going to come directly from those stakeholders, whether they're internal or external. And your responsibility as a product owner is to understand those needs and those asks, document them, clarify them, and ensure that the Scrum team is able to understand what those needs are, okay? And when it comes down to it, it's about clarity. And when it comes to product clarity, we want to have three things, right? The vision, which is the what, the purpose, which is the why, and the strategy, which is the how, okay? So that being said, we got into an exercise where we had to pick a project, and we picked an online interactive story game app, which is like murder mystery games, and the name of our company is Murder Mystery Madness. So it was pretty cool, and definitely, we did some product clarity and discovery. And in the other days, we refined that further and further. So I'm just going to introduce that, and we'll go into the next part. yeah, it was pretty cool. And there were some nice exercises that I go into in the day 3 and 4 videos. Thank you. So as we went along this process of the Murder Mystery Madness Company for the online story game app game that we are making, we essentially got into building customer profiles, doing discovery and validation exercises. And when it comes to the customer profile, we want to identify a few things such as the JBTD, which is jobs to be done. So for our company, the jobs to be done are networking, team building, and fostering relationships. Then we got into pains. For us, we're looking at corporate team building. So we have lack of cooperation from people that are remote, from team members that are remote. And there are there are intimidation factors that some team members might feel like they can't express themselves because of their boss or someone that's making more money than them would perceive them in a way that's not favorable. Now, when it comes to any gains of this, we have that this will boost and build morale, trust and empathy, and rapport amongst the team, and help facilitate collaboration and having a good time and enjoying themselves while they're working. So then the next exercise that we did was identifying different personas. So what I just covered right now is for the corporate team building demographic. Then we have families. Then we just have people that are looking to play an online game that have free time. And yeah, pretty cool stuff. So then I'll get into discovery and validation next. All right, so next we get into the discovery and validation. And this is an ongoing activity that you as a team, you want to be performing. So this way you know that you're clear and current with your product vision and goal. And things change. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up with your customers, your stakeholders, and ensuring that what information that you have is clear and current, and are there any changes? So why would you do it? You can get a clear product vision and maintain clear product vision. You want to keep the team in sync. It helps you research prior and understand the personas and the potential customers for your product, and to make sure that you're developing the right product for the right people, and to not needlessly overdevelop. And the ways you can do this when it comes to discovery and validation, you want to do a few different things. You want to do customer research, you want to do internal stakeholder feedback, you want to do surveys, focus groups, and the best thing is producing low fidelity prototypes, where in the earlier stages you get the understanding of the vision and goal, and you want to produce a concept that the stakeholders can see and give you feedback on, and give you like assurance that are you on the right track, or you're 50% there and you're missing X, Y, and Z. And that's what discovery and validation does. And make sure that you're right on track at all times. So you want to make sure this is an ongoing activity, not just done in the beginning. You want to make sure it's consistent. All right, so next we got into a point that the instructor said, is that in Scrum there is no such thing as partial credit. Okay, it's either you win or you lose, it's done or it's not done. Okay, and I think that's something important to know and understand. It's not to increase the pressure on the team, it's actually to relieve the pressure, right? Because it makes it clear that in order for this to be considered successful, we have to commit to something that's feasible and possible. Okay, and it helps in understanding that the Scrum team operates as one body. So the ownership of the items are shared equally and evenly, right? So if something does not get done, it's the whole team that takes account for that. It should not be pinpointed on one person, okay? So essentially pass fail. Then we got into the retrospective, which is essentially the purpose of this activity and this event is to conclude the sprint and to give the team an opportunity to inspect and adapt, see where they are, what is going well for them, what isn't going well, and what are ideas for improving as a team. And the goal is you want to pick a couple ideas per retrospective, commit to that, and see, does this actually help us, okay? You want to produce a psychologically safe environment for your Scrum team, and you want to make sure that you have a sequence for it, so that way there's order and structure to that meeting and that session. You want to make sure that the time box for this is less than 3 hours per sprint, which makes sense because you don't want to go overboard when it comes down to having unnecessarily long retrospectives. And the whole idea is that you want to make sure that you're consistently doing these activities, okay? Because if you're not, then you're going to be off track longer than you realize, and you're defeating the purpose of what Scrum is trying to get companies to do, which is to inspect and adapt on a consistent basis. All right, and that was pretty much the end of our second day, and days 3 and 4 already are uploaded, so I'm just going to be cutting this, compiling it together into a YouTube video, and breaking it down into smaller videos for shorts, TikToks, and Instagram. And I will be publishing my ebook, and I'll with that I'll be publishing a full recap of my CSPO journey, my overall takeaways, and an explanation of the ebook as well, so that way you can get the most value out of it and take the most benefit. That being said, thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate you as always. Take care. Bye-bye.